Welcome back. In this video we're going to be working on our final plum blossom picture. The final plum blossom picture might look something like this. The idea is you're going to be filling your whole paper, a 12 by 18 sheet of paper, with a final plum blossom picture. Remember, the kind of components of the plum blossom are the gnarled old tree branches that are thick versus thin, overlapping, against the idea of the delicate new blossoms. Remember that the whole sumi-e painting or Chinese brush painting is about positive and negative spaces between the subject and between the background, as well as the balance and harmony of the variety of shades of ink that you use, as well as the shapes that you create. So after you've finished your checklist like this that has all of the plum blossom skills on it, then you may start your final plum blossom painting. Okay, to get started, you're going to get your paper, write your name on the back so you know that your name is on there, and then I'm going to use my biggest brush here. I'm going to get some fresh water before I get any ink. I'm just going to get a nice amount of fresh water, dry my brush off, and then get a few dribbles of black ink. I'm going to start with a gray tone, okay, a kind of medium to light gray tone for my branch, and then I'm going to go back, just like I did in the skill demonstration, and use some then darker ink to go over the edges of my composition with. So if I take just a scrap of paper here and I go to check, yeah, that's a nice grayish tone. It's not too dark, but not too light. I'm going to just dry my brush off so that I can get that scraggly, ragged look out of my tree branch. And I'm going to start down here. Remember, we talked about your picture could be starting from the top and growing down. You could be starting from the bottom and growing up. You could hold your paper vertically like this and have it come the other way. I'm going to do it horizontally. You, at this point, know the skills, so you're going to put it together in the artistic fashion that you feel most interested in. So I'm going to start here, holding my brush vertically, and I'm going to curve my branch up, turning ever so slightly to get the thinness and thickness of the branch that I want. Okay, so there's kind of my first branch. From there, I'm going to be changing my brush, and I'm going to use the smaller brush to get a little bit smaller branches, yet I still want to stick with that gray tone, because I want to start with those even grays so that I can go back and put more in, different things in if I want to. I'm going to bring a branch right off from here and curve it down. I'm going to bring a branch right off the edge here. Grow it up, and I'm going to bring a couple from right up here that are going to cross behind and grow up this way. And I think I'll bring a couple just right off here. And up over here. Alright, so there I've kind of got a network of branches and bristles. Now I'm going to go back and get some black ink on here and get a little darker shade of ink. Kind of load my brush up, dry it off so I can get that scruffy, scraggly look, and I'm actually going to bend my bristles back like that so that I can use the tip and the side. I'm going to kind of load this into that side of the trunk. I'm going to continue it out up this way here and just come along the bottom part there. I'm going to do the same thing on this other side, leaving a little white in between until we get up there. Bend my brush back so I can get a nice swoop there, and bring these branches up, leaving a few places where I can overlap some of my my plum blossoms as I want to put them in. Okay, so there you can notice how I've kind of got that tree branch growing up this way, curving down back around, and still yet having those wisps there. Now I've got the main branch and the smaller branches in. I'm going to switch to a finer brush. Some of you in class might choose to use the nylon bristle brush because it's got a better snap to it. I'm going to use one of my horsehair bristle brushes here that holds a nice point. And I'm going to go back to this lighter gray ink. Okay, I'm going to fill my brush up with it and then dry my brush off. So I have a nice gray tone, but I can control it a little better. And I'm going to start by putting in some smaller branches and some plum blossoms from the back. Okay, so we talked about our plum blossoms from the back looking just more like ovals. And as I apologize for not being able to zoom in any better, but unfortunately what I'm working with doesn't allow me to do much zooming in or out. Okay, so I'm just going to put some plum blossoms up here. Remember, it's grouping them together so that they do appear to be together. And then transferring from lighter ink to the blacker ink, because the black ink is on the back of the plum blossom. Okay, and so I've just got a couple there, and as I go around, I'm not going to be able to finish this whole composition, but I want to get the idea out there, and then as well I want to show the variety of blossoms. So right here I'm going to put some blossoms from the front, so that we can have the front view, and then some from the bottom view. So here from the front, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. From the side here, looking like they're facing down, kind of drooping down, is the 1, 2, 3, 4. Little one from the side. Put in the stamen. Put in the filaments and stamen. Okay, so there's 2. I'm going to kind of continue grouping a few of them together as I go here, trying to keep them proportionally accurate to the size of what I've already got there. And I'm going to put in some newer buds here. Okay, and again, you're going to just kind of start not splattering, but smattering them around so that you've got a nice sense of balance between the blossoms and the tree branches. And you've got them kind of nicely balanced out in the sense of what's there and what might want to be there in a sense. So you've got that nice balance and harmony. And then one thing we didn't talk about was before anything blooms, there's little buds of where the blossoms are kind of just sitting on the branch. And if you put some little dots on the branch as you go through, that'll kind of signify those. Alright, and you can notice in my water cup I haven't really used, I've been mostly using this gray over here as my water source. Again, trying to work within what you've got as far as the composition and as far as keeping the ideas clean. I would say this is not finished by any stretch of the imagination, but I've got a nice variety of smaller buds just growing, buds that haven't even grown yet, a couple pointing up, a couple facing out, a couple facing down. So I've got a variety of different flowers. I've also got a variety of different branches, and as I go back I can kind of enhance these branches and make them a little bit more full in their thought and their style. So as you go through, think of what do you want, how do you want it to look, and then think about what kind of brush you're using and why. Okay, so this being kind of a finished, almost finished example, I'm going to stop there and remind you of the things that you're looking for. The plum blossom, it's about the old gnarled branches against the young new ones. It's against that hardness of the branches juxtaposed against the delicate blossoms. It's the positive and negative spaces in between your composition, as well as the balance and harmony and the variety of the gray tones of ink, as well as the variety of spaces, negative and positive. So that being kind of a finished composition, you've got the main branch coming up, the secondary branch coming and swooping down through the composition, and you've got kind of the nice couple other branches scraggling through. So once you're done, make sure you wash out your brushes nicely. Make sure that when you're done, you close your ink cap and screw the cap on all the way. Alright, and that you clean up your palette and brushes and everything nicely. And that concludes our final plum blossom picture.